You are now live. You are now live. Well, hello there. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy Style here. Hopefully you guys are well. I'm currently in my office doing some work, but I figured I'd jump on live with you guys really quick. And let's chop it up. Let's chop it up. I don't know why I'm doing this. Let's chop it up. Hope you guys are well. Yo, what up, what up, what up? It's your girl Asia. We in the building. P.O.P. We all we got. This picture behind me, I'm in my office. That's where I'm at. Hola, my friends. ¿Cómo estás? Hope you guys doing fantastic. What's up with all these hearts? Appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me all those hearts. I didn't even do nothing. How you guys doing today? How is everybody doing? How am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I had a couple conference calls. Had some other stuff going on, some filming. I read literally probably 100 messages today. And I realized, as I was reading these messages, you guys, I realized something really quickly. And a lot of people have talked about it, and I think it became a lot more popular in the more recent years. Shout out to a lot of celebrities that are also advocates for mental health. And so one thing I want to say as I start this video, I am not a therapist. I'm not a life coach when it comes to that particular aspect. My last year in college, you guys, was my first year in college. So my capacity to like give you guys information when it comes to the mental health process, I have no degrees in that area at all. But I have experienced life. You know, I'm 35 years old, and my life has been completely flipped upside down from, you know, where I grew up. If you looked at my life, I guess, on a piece of paper, and you were to look at that piece of paper, what you would say is, this guy should not be who he is today. Like everything about my life, my childhood, you know, I can even remember times before my mother passed away where my brother would drive to the beach at nighttime, and we would sit in the car and we would listen to the ocean. And to be honest with you guys, I thought how cool my brother was to taking us to the beach to listen to the ocean and just watch the waves. But the reality is, because of my living situation was so bad, my brother was doing his best to be able to keep me safe, right? If that makes sense. And so a lot of people have different stories and different experiences that happen in life. But the one thing I will tell you is, like, you know, outside of saying this is real or this is fake, if it's true to you and it's real to you, then it's real, right? And so I mean that from the bottom of my heart when I say this. Like, you guys, if it's real to you, then it's real. And that's the most important part. There's a lot of stories that you guys can read. There's a lot of books that you guys can read. There's a lot of situations that you guys can look at, and you can look at those situations and say, I'm going to come out a better person because of those situations. But the first and most important thing is that you have to know that you are valuable, right? You got to get clear about the value that you have to this world, as a man or woman, a child, as an adult, as a husband, as a wife, as a single mom or a single dad, or, you know, you were sexually abused or physically abused or mentally abused, right? Or you just had a perfect background, but for some reason you can't figure out why you have these thoughts of depression or anxiety. Look, those things are real, you guys. And if for somebody to jump on here and say they're fake or they don't exist, it's bullshit. But what I will say is, what if, hypothetically speaking, you could overcome those challenges? What if, hypothetically, you can come out a stronger person? What if, right, you can go through being physically beat as a kid and, you know, maybe having to sleep in a car or sleep in a hallway or skipping meals? What if you can come out and start to see the actual value in life? And what if, because of your story, you become an advocate of change for the world? What if, because you went through so much shit, you come out on the other side of that a better person? So I want to be clear when I say this. I'm not dismissing what happened to you, but what I am saying is, what are you going to do about it, right? Because we can continue to stay, I could continue to say like, yo, my mother passed away and I needed her, because I did. And for a long time, I sought after my mother inside of women. So I would date women and I would, be intimate with women. But really what I was seeking was for that same experience that I missed out as a young kid with my mom. And it took a woman telling me that, right? It took a woman to say to me, hey, Style, like, you know what, you're dope, I like you, but I feel like I'm your mom. And I remember thinking like, what? Yo, you crazy. You know what I mean? But it took me self-reflection and time and energy and money into investing in my mental health to understand how important, that mental piece is. And so the reason why I'm having this conversation with you guys is I want you to understand how important your mental state is when it comes to life, okay? Not just success, because I don't have the blueprint to success, as you say. I can tell you what I did, and I can say to you, hey, it created success for me. But the truth is, even if you go and you do the same exact thing, exactly to the T, it doesn't mean that life or God or, the universe is going to give you the same result. And so sometimes chasing someone else's exact blueprint to success. Now, there are principles I believe are important, but the same thing that I did, it may not give you a totally different result. So, or the same result, I should say. So what I want to say to you guys is, listen, it is time to self-reflect. Absolutely. It is time to, one of the great leaders I was just listening to or talking to today, you guys, he said something very powerful on the call that I was just on. He said, it's time to double down on personal development, right? Meaning like your personal growth, your personal mindset. So if you, prior to this live that you're watching, let's say you were hypothetically listening to about an hour a week of something that was going to help you move your life forward. Or if you're anything like me, where I do a minimum of 30 minutes a day, of some sort of personal growth thing or personal development thing for myself. So what double down looks like is an hour, right? And if you really want to 10x that, it's an hour and a half a day, right? And so obviously, I don't know if you guys are playing full out or you want to play this game, like you could just put that little hand in there inside of the chat or the comment, or if you're watching this video later, you can comment in the comment section, put a 5 or a thumbs up if you're willing to double down on your development, right? And I believe what happens is, I see you guys with the doubling down, right? What happens is when you double down on your development, the person you become outside of what's happening with the coronavirus or outside of what's happening with quarantine, the person you become in life, ooh, now that's sweet. Like the person you become in life is sweet, right? A woman said to me today, like, Style, I think that you should write a book, right? And I said to her, wow, like that's deep. I appreciate that, right? I don't know if I have the actual patience that it will take to sit down and write my story down. But what I will tell you is that all of us have a book inside of us, right? Like every single one of us, we have our own personal story. But one thing I write, and I want you guys to write this, if you're watching this and you have a notebook or you're watching this later, write this down. It's very important what I'm going to say, okay? Don't nobody give a shit about your story until you give them a reason to. All right, I'm gonna say that again because just in case it wasn't clear, there was a misconnection and it happened here. Don't nobody give a shit about your story until you give them a reason to. And so what we get to do is that people that have went through challenges like myself and like probably like some of you guys that are watching this, right? We got to stop playing like my life is worse than your life game, right? Or we got to stop watching people on TV. Like, listen, you guys, I have a whole list of things that I want to accomplish, right? I have a list. I have over about 40 magazines I would love to be in, like personally, right? I want to have my story shared inside of these magazines. I've been featured in probably 2 magazines, right? My entire life. One of them was for some modeling stuff, and another one was for an Herbalife magazine called Today's Magazine. It was a fantastic experience. But I have a list of 50 and nobody's knocking on my door, believe it or not. No one cares about my story until I give them a reason to, right? There's nobody knocking on the door saying, hey, can we share your story with the world because we believe it'll inspire them, right? I have other goals and dreams that I want to be able to accomplish, but it's going to take me doing the necessary daily work to be able to achieve that, right? Outside of growing my organization is fantastic. I have a fantastic organization that I love. We've done a lot of time and energy and hard work with that. But there are other things I want to accomplish in my life that are going to take steps of action and investment of time and energy and money to be able to achieve those things, right? And so I would challenge you guys, if you don't have the money that it takes to get a book, or obviously we can't go to the library now because that's not an option, but when the libraries are open back up, right? Take the time to go to a library, and you can sit in the library now and read the book for free. All it's going to cost you is the bike ride or maybe the gas money it takes to get there, right? Or if you can't afford, a lot of people have the knowledge and information online, right? Someone texted me today and they said, Harvard University is offering free online courses. I have no idea if that's true or if it's false, right? A friend of mine yesterday sent me a list of maybe some of the top motivational, inspirational books, absolutely free, right? And you can read those books on your phone, right? And so fantastic. Like, think about that, right? Another friend of mine, we talked about, if you can't afford those books, then you can go online to YouTube, right? Like, if you don't have the money for internet, maybe you can go to the library. It's going to take you going outside, putting your shoes on, getting on your bike and riding to the library. My brother used to always tell me, he said, Style, I'm going to tell you something I think is very important. And remember, I was probably around 8 or 9 years old. My brother was saying this. He said, Style, if you really want to be successful, right? Like, think about this right now, you guys. Another thing for your notes. If you really want to be successful, you need to find a career that allows you to use your mind and not your body. I just, when I was 9 years old, I couldn't understand exactly what he meant by that, right? Because he said your body's going to give out on you, but your mind is one of the most powerful things that you have. And so that mental health part, you guys, once again, I'm not an expert, but let's chip away at the blocks every single day. And if we looked at our life, right, imagine right now, so let's say you're 35 years old like me. So I'm 35 years old, and let's say I'm born, and this is 35 years. And every single year there's a cassette tape, right? And so let's say at age of 9, I have a cassette tape. So that's right around here, if you guys would agree. At 9 years old, I lost my mom to alcohol and medication. Right? At 9 years old, my father didn't want to talk to me on my phone. At 9 years old or 10 years old, I went into the foster care system, right? And at that point, my life drastically changed. So if I can't allow that 9-year-old cassette tape, if I cannot take that cassette tape out, look at it, forgive myself, forgive the people around it, right? Throw it away and not let it control the next 30 years of my life from 1 or 2 years. Come on, you guys. That's the strength. It's going to take that kind of power to go back a year. Maybe your year is when you're 7, right? Maybe your year is when you're 5. Maybe your year is when you're 14. Maybe your year was last year, right? Or maybe your year is 2020, right? We got to take that cassette tape out and we got to forgive ourselves, forgive the people around it, and we got to throw it away. Right? And so I want you guys to understand that we can allow those circumstances. And sometimes for people like me, those circumstances are more than 1 year, right? Maybe it's a good 5 or 6 or 7 years out of your life that have been all downhill. Or, I know there was a young lady that said she gave 15 years of her life for somebody that didn't deserve it. And what I wanted to respond to her was this. I wanted to say to her, what if you didn't waste 15 years? What if you needed those 15 years? What if God or the universe allowed you to experience those 15 years so that the next 75 years of your life are fantastic, right? And so there is no exact way of how, for example, there's not an exact way to go back, but what if, hypothetically speaking, right? Listen to this. What if you decided that the next 55 years of your life or 60 years of my life, right? 65 years of my life are more valuable to me than when I was 9 years old, right? Don't get me wrong on what I'm saying. Just play along with me for a second, right? I don't know because I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to school for this, you guys. But what I am saying is I believe the next 65 years of my life are so much more valuable than those 7 years of complete hell, in a sense, from my perspective, right? What if I decided that was it? And so if I had to make that choice, guess what I'm going to have to do first? I'm going to have to not just forgive the people that were beating me, not just forgive my mom for the drug and alcohol, not just to forgive my dad. I got to forgive myself. All right. And so forgiving yourself, you guys, and I really mean it, like love yourself, like fall in love with you. Fall in love with your one lazy eye. You see this eye? This is my lazy eye. You guys, you know why? I sleep on this side of my face all the time. Maybe that's why, or maybe I was born like this. Who knows? Fall in love with the fact that you're 5'9", but on your driver's license, it says you're 5'10". You know what I mean? Like, fall in love with the fact that if you look at my abs in any photo, like this left side, right, is good. But this right side, I don't know what's going on this side, right? Fall in love with the fact that you're imperfect, right? Like, no, I'm serious, you guys. Like, you see this scar right here on my face, right? You see this? That's crazy, right? I almost lost my eye. You see this scar right here, right? You guys, that's not a pimple. That's a scar. It doesn't go anywhere. I got a dent in the middle of my forehead, right? Falling, like now scars are cool. But growing up, you know what I mean? Like fall in love with your imperfections because the imperfect you makes you so perfect, right? Fall in love with the fact that your hair doesn't grow the way you want it to grow. Right? Fall in love with that your beard doesn't grow in thick like everybody else's beard, right? Fall in love with that you failed the second grade because you can't read, right? Just pay attention to me, you guys. I don't know the answer exactly. Fall in love that your body, even if you thinking like it's not looking, you look down at your body when you naked, we all do it. And you look at stuff and some of them things you're like, oh shit, is that me? Right? Or is that the mirror, right? You don't know what's going on. And so I'm saying this to you guys to say because none of us are perfect, right? One thing that keeps me going and striving, a lot of people ask me this question, like, what keeps you going? And I think it's not necessarily the pursuit to happiness, right? The truth is I always see an area of improvement. Okay, now that's a blessing and a curse. Let me be honest with you, right? Because I ran track in high school. You guys may not know that. And I was really good. And one thing that I realized about my experience in track was as I was running, I never felt like it was me. I always felt like I was watching myself perform. So when people would say, great job, or my name would be in the newspaper or whatever else would happen, I never was able to really enjoy the experience of achieving those great things because I never took time to fall in love with myself. All right. And so that's going to take maybe some time, you guys. Maybe it'll take some of you guys 10 seconds to fall in love with yourself. And so maybe for the rest of you guys, it's going to take you 10 years, right? I don't know the time frame, but what I will say is your life is worth it, right? And the things that happen to you, right? A lot of times you hear the cliche thing, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, right? That's cool to say, but when you're in it, it fucking sucks. Excuse my language, right? It sucks when you're in it. It just seems like there's no way out, right? And I've been there. Like I've looked up and said, I don't know, God. I don't know if there's a way out of this, right? So many things happen to us. And another thing I would tell you is fall in love with the fact that you're not perfect. I know I said it, but I want to hit home. Look, you guys, fall in love with the fact that you've lied to people. Like, let's get real here. Let's get deep, right? Like, fall in love with the fact that you have been a liar. Like, fall in love with the fact that you have, because of you, some people in this world, life is not as good as can be because you didn't do the choices. You didn't make the choices. You didn't make the sacrifices. You didn't do the things necessary to show them, right, that it's worth going after their goals and dreams. And when you make that choice, you give other people permission to do the same thing. Fall in love with the fact that you've made mistakes. I know it's not just the beauty of it. So when you're able to just, I believe, let me just say from my perspective, when you're able to just sit with that and fall in love with the idea that you've made mistakes, I think something very unique comes from that. I think you become a completely different person, and you're now true to who you are, right? And that truth moment will take probably years to discover. And I don't think that it's something that you will master. I just think that it's something that you continue to work on every single day, because as we get older, obviously we get wiser. But listen to me, kings and queens and little ones and youngins and grandparents and grandmother. I don't know who's going to watch this. I don't know. Maybe Obama may watch this video. Who knows, right? And maybe you'll never tell anyone that he watched this video. But my point, though, is what if, right? What I want to say to you guys is it's never perfect, right? But it's always just right. Isn't that something, right? It's always exactly what we need at that moment. It's always just right, right? And so when you reflect on that, sometimes it's hard to say. I used to ask the question, God, how come it seems like bad people gets blessed with so much? How could it be a rapper gets online, I killed people, I shot people, I murdered people, and they live in these houses I would die to live in, or they drive the car, or they like, how is that possible? And what I've come to the conclusion is, this may help some of you guys. This is not the answer, okay? This is just my answer for me. The devil also blesses people. Okay, I want to say that. I know this is a very controversial live, but I want to say it because once I realized the devil will bless people, because the devil wants people on their team, on his team or her, doesn't matter what, its team. The devil wants people on its team. So if I'm doing the work of promoting something that is harming other people and I continue to get blessed for it, I'm going to keep talking about it, right? And I'm going to draw more people onto the dark side. I know that might be too deep for some of y'all, but I'm just going to say it, right? And so instead of saying the nice guys finish last, or nice people finish last, or good woman finish last, or how come I'm a good woman, I ain't found a good man, right? I've said all those similar things. Obviously, I'm not a woman, but I've said things like, whoa, how come this is the way it is? Listen, you guys, you cannot get sidetracked by what somebody else is doing, right or wrong, and try to apply it to your life. Your life is your life. And you got to get honest with yourself and say, my next 65 years or 10 years or 5 years, whatever it is for you, is worth it. And me forgiving myself is worth it. And about 3 years ago, you guys, I'm going to end on this message because I want to just keep this short for you guys. About 3 years ago, I woke up one day and everything was perfect in my life. And I remember I went downstairs, but I had this overwhelming feeling of depression, super heavy on my heart. And I was thinking back, I'm like, did anybody text me anything crazy? Anything happen to any of my family members? It's not gloomy outside. And I did a mental check of everything that was happening in my life. And there was nothing, listen to me, nothing at all was actually happening in my life. But guess what it was? Habit. It was literally all habit, because for 28 years of my life, I had the habit of being depressed. Even when everything was going right, that same sensation came back, you guys. And I literally had to check myself, right? I'm saying this to you guys so that you guys can get it. I mean, I was like, yo, you tripping, bro. Like nothing is going on, right? This does not have power over you, right? You got to forgive yourself. And some of it is habits, you guys. Some of it's really, you might blame it on the weather. You might blame it on the alcohol, right? You might blame it on, whatever may be happening, but really it is habit. It is a habit, right? This is not for everybody. I'm talking about a small percentage of you guys because I don't know the truth, but it's complete habit that you had that feeling of sadness or depression or frustration or anger. Listen to me, kings and queens, like take it in, take what I'm saying, right? Like just take it in for a second and say to yourself, like, the next 65 years, I'm just speaking for myself, or 70 years, right? Maybe God will give me 105 or 140, who knows, is worth it, right? And when you realize that that habit is coming up, you got to do something that switches. Like you got to like just switch that moment. Don't sit in it. Don't just go, no, I'm going to be sad. Let me just lean on the sadness. No, bro, get your butt up and move that body. Get out of the bed, right? I don't care if you make it or you don't make it. For me, making it makes me feel great, so I make it. I never make my bed because I feel like it. I make my bed because I love the feeling of walking back into my room and it's made. Y'all feel me? Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I'm not making this damn bed. F that. I get out of the bed and I make it. Like literally that fast, right? Because I want the feeling once I get back to my room. Are you guys following what I'm saying? And so it's not about, I'm going to switch a little bit on the topic. It's not about the bed. It's not about the car. It's not about the husband or the wife that some of you guys may be seeking. It's not about the 458 Ferrari convertible that is so beautiful. It's not about that. Not that I want, yeah, I do want one, but let's come back with me here. It's not about that. It's about the feeling that you get. Okay. And when we can take control of that feeling, right? Imagine we have this right now in my hands. Obviously you can't see it, but there's a green ball of energy in between my hands right now. And we all have it. All of us, right? And some of our balls may be red. Some of our balls may be black from what life has given us over and over again. But inside of that ball is always green, right? With energy and love and compassion and understanding, right? It doesn't mean that the next person that comes into our life won't be full of shit. It doesn't mean that they're not going to hurt our feelings. It doesn't mean that we won't fall again, right? What it does mean is that we're worth it. And so this conversation that we're having right now on live is important. And I felt, I guess in a sense, called to be able to share with you guys after reading over 100 messages about all the things that people had to overcome, of losing their mom and their dad and overcoming cancer and losing their brothers and people being murdered and being physically beat and divorces and, you know, all the things that people went through in their life. And let me tell you what happened that was so beautiful after I read all these things. I didn't feel sad. What I felt was, after reading all of those messages, I felt the glory, right, of the universe or of God allowing us to be able to freely speak our mind and say it without judgment. Because I was the kind of person just a few years ago that would never in a wildest dreams tell anybody that I was the things that happened to me in my life. And I said, wow, how strong of a woman or a man or a young kid had to be able to write this comment and to be able to put it out into the universe to a complete stranger, right? And so I want to say to you guys, I'm grateful for the opportunity for us to be able to come together and share. And I don't know who this message is for. I don't know if it's for you. I don't know if it's for your mom or your dad or your brother or your cousin, or maybe the message is for me. Like, to be honest, like maybe it's for me. But I do know that if we decide to apply ourselves and we decide to be unapologetic about, you know, our goals and our dreams, but make sure that those things don't compromise anyone else in a negative fashion. And the most important thing, what it does do is it gives people the ability to live their goals and their dreams to their fullest self. It may make people uncomfortable, you going after your goals and dreams, because as you go after your goals and dreams, it makes them look in the mirror, right? A lot of people have quit that have been a part of my team and I'll be honest, that 100% had everything it took to be in the top 1% of our company and make a massive impact, I believe because they couldn't handle the pressure of allowing their light to shine bright enough, right? What they did was they allowed to dim their own light so that other people can shine, and they started to chase the dollar, or they started to chase the money versus what's really possible for them in their life and what they can become. And that's not wrong or that's not right. That's just their journey that they're on. And so I hope that you guys don't dim your light so other people can shine, right? And I hope that you're able to go back and take that cassette tape like we talked about earlier and allow yourself to live as bright and as shiny and as imperfected, as perfect as possible, because when they turn that light on your face, they gonna see all that shit. They gonna see the pimples, they gonna see the scratches, they gonna see the scars on your face, they gonna see your old looking hands, they gonna see, you know what I mean, something that ain't the way. When they turn that light on, they're gonna see it. And you gotta be okay with not being perfect. So with that being said, you guys, I love you guys, and I don't know if I'll ever do a video like this again, but what I am gonna do with this video is I'm gonna upload it to my YouTube, and you guys could share with people if you choose, and if you don't, maybe this was just for you and I right now. Maybe this conversation was just for you and I. But I'm grateful that you guys decided to tune in to this conversation. And I'm grateful that you guys follow me on this journey. And I want you to understand that I'm so far from perfect. I make mistakes every day. I got to make the same choices that you guys got to make. Am I going to go after it, or I'm going to sleep in this bed? And it actually became a lot harder when I created so much success, because now, right, I have more options. In the past, I was grinding because I was tired of missing meals. I was grinding because I was tired of having to get a bowl of ice to have something to chew on, right? Now it's a completely different kind of grind. And there's nothing worse than having the success and losing it. So I say that to you guys to say, like, go after it. And when you start to create success, keep getting up. The moment that in my career of an entrepreneur, my wildest dream income came in, probably around a year into being an entrepreneur, I started getting up at 3:30 in the morning, you guys, because I was scared as hell that I was going to lose all that was coming in. And it was one of the greatest choices I made because it kept me outside of my comfort zone. So stay uncomfortable. You guys, if there's something that you heard in today's Instagram live or YouTube when you watch this later, go back to my last post on Instagram and just comment. Even if you don't want to say what it is, just give it a thumbs up. Like it, give it a thumbs up, and let's spread this message of transformation for the world. I love you guys. Stay blessed, stay happy, and let's get it. Peace.